outstanding fast bowler from a country that neither developed nor encouraged pace bowling. He could score centuries at better than a runner ball. He played with pride and passion, and always to win. Charismatic, aggressive and headstrong, Kapil Dev is one of ESPN's legends of cricket.
Oh, and he's got him.
He's gone! Kapil Dev, the skipper. Extra cover. West Indies in total disarray now.
The 1983 World Cup final at Lord's. Kapil Dev's Indian side set the West Indies a modest target of 184. Most observers expected the Windies to make the runs with ease, but Kapil had the last word.
That's out. Yes. Tremendous performance by this Indian side, and here's a man who's been largely responsible for it over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, while growing up, obviously we saw a lot of Kapil Dev, and the bowlers wanted to always become like Kapil Dev, and the batters wanted to become like Sunil Gavaskar. So I saw him lifting the World Cup, and that's a fond memory. No Indian can forget about that.
He comes in the same category as the Imran Khan, the Richard Hadleys, Ian Botham of his era. Truly great. And again, playing for a team like India, which was still one of the weaker teams in world cricket. So that was never easy. Plus the bowling burden. You know, whenever India was in trouble through the 80s, the ball would be tossed to Kapil Dev, and he would have just bowled a 12-over spell and would take a breather for 10 minutes and the ball was back at him.
Magnificent strike of the ball, really good eye, and again he carried the seam attack for India for it seemed like forever. You know, just seemed to keep on going and going, and what more can you say about the guy? He was dangerous, and you only had to see some of the knocks he played, particularly in World Cup and one-day games for India. Magnificent.
And he goes again, and my word, that's through and away for 4 more.
I've seen him play some of the most outstanding innings. He got 100 towards the end of his career, 92, 93 in Port Elizabeth, where Alan Donald was coming in and bowling quick. It was one of the fastest displays of bowling I've seen from Alan Donald. And he got a stunning 100.
With the bat, Kapil was electrifying.
Kapil Dev was an outstanding cricketer. Good batsman, good bowler, someone who could change the game with either bat or ball. And again, someone that I think the Indian team believed in. Someone that I think made the Indian team believe that they could win things and they could do a lot better than just go out and be sparkling here or there.
I can always remember an one-day innings he played at the Gabba against us, where he hit our bowlers all round Brisbane, it seemed, and one of them, Jeremy Coney, took out the white handkerchief in one stage and just surrendered to him because he'd hit the ball so hard and so often.
That's a big hit, and that's going to find the gap between extra cover and mid-off. It's a magnificent blow from Kapil Dev. That's what India need.
He was a destroyer. He would just attack the bowlers and attack them, to the extent that the bowlers, sometimes I've seen bowlers losing their concentration, losing their confidence, and that is what Kapil Dev thrived on. He was a very attacking batsman, violent as they said, I would say destructive.
Kapil's achievements as a batsman were considerable, but with the ball in hand, he became a world record breaker.
And the straight one and gone. Caught at third slip. That was a very good delivery from the Indian all-rounder.
Wonderful all-rounder. I sort of played against him over quite a period of time. First for Australia when he was getting to the top of his powers or top of his game, when he bowled really well, swung the ball out, good pace, and was able to hit the ball very well towards the latter part of the innings as well.
I remember touring my early days of touring India, early 80s when he was playing there. He really, as an all-rounder, was great. I'd always loved all-rounders. People like Botham, Kapil Dev, Hadley as well. Because you just think, what a great contribution to a team, to a game. He can do anything, everything. And he did. He just got involved.
At the age of 15, Kapil Dev, a precocious cricketing talent, was sent to a live-in camp for emerging Indian players.
The story goes that a camp was organised for young cricketers in India, to which the young Kapil Dev was invited. And during the lunch break at this camp, they were served their meal, which wasn't up to Kapil Dev's standards. The head of the camp comes up and says, "What, you want more food?" And Kapil Dev is reputed to have said, "Yes, I do want more food, I'm a fast bowler." And the camp head said, "Oh no, we don't produce fast bowlers in India."
And that really drove him to become a fast bowler. He said, "I want to prove these guys wrong." And I think a bit of that stayed with him always.
Kapil was more a swing bowler. He could bowl lively, but I mean he had that ability to swing the ball, whereas Imran and one or two others had quite the capability of bowling very, very quick bouncers and that. But the one that you worried about with Kapil, a bit like Sir Richard, was the swing, and again his accuracy and the ability to think players out. He was another thinking cricketer. But he was again very consistent, as you have to be, and learning to bowl on Indian wickets and being able to swing the ball. He was again another one of those wonderful cricketers that bowled it at a decent pace, still a decent pace, and swung it.
Through the 60s and early 70s, the new ball was a distraction. It was just a means of doing something to it to get the spinners on. We'd roll the ball in the very first over, roll the ball from mid-on back to the bowlers to get the shine away. And suddenly the new ball became a weapon for India. And that was as much of a culture change as the fact that an Indian could bat against the world's fastest bowlers.
Seven weeks before his 17th birthday, Kapil made his first-class debut, taking 6 wickets for 39. By the age of 19, he was playing Test cricket.
Kapil Dev's first series, which was against Pakistan, the Indian slip field was included men like Sunil Gavaskar, and apparently the fervour, the excitement in the slip cordon when Kapil Dev was actually bowling bouncers, and these Indian batsmen actually found themselves part of a team that was giving bounces rather than receiving them. I mean, the excitement is something that Sunil Gavaskar talks about today. The excitement that the team felt was mirrored by the whole population, and he became very, very quickly a real celebrity. I mean, I don't think it can be understated what Kapil Dev meant to Indian cricket and the Indian cricket team, because he gave them a spearhead which they'd never ever had.
After the first tour of 1978 of Kapil Dev's, everybody in India knew that we had a cricketer, we had a fast bowler who was going to serve the country for 17-18 years, and he did so.
Against the West Indies in 1978-79, Kapil scored his first Test century.
In 1978 series, he showed all the batsmen that if you attack the West Indian bowlers, they can also crumble, and they did. They wanted to disturb his concentration, the West Indian fast bowlers, but they couldn't do it because he just took the attack to the opposition. He would just hook them and pull them at will.
Within 12 months, Kapil became the youngest and quickest player to take 100 Test wickets and score 1,000 Test runs, beating records set by Graham McKenzie and Ian Botham.
Kapil Dev's batting is always something that's tended to be overlooked when you look at his performances, purely and simply because he took 434 Test wickets. Generally, people don't look beyond those sorts of figures, but his batting was top class because he scored Test hundreds against the West Indies as well, and that was always the benchmark of the era that Kapil Dev played in.
In January 1980, Kapil Dev took 11 wickets and made 84 runs to steer India to its first series win against Pakistan since the early 50s.
There was a series in Pakistan a little before that. And when all of a sudden India used to be 6 wickets down, and we thought, normally the 3 spinners came on, they were great bowlers, but they weren't great batsmen. And suddenly here was this man who was taking on the opposition fast bowling. And the amount he grew between that first series and this Test match where he took the 11 wickets and scored runs very quickly, it was astonishing. I don't think I've seen anyone grow in 10 or 12 months as much as Kapil Dev did in that period. And all of a sudden we said, wow, we've got someone who can knock the ball a long way. If you lose 5 wickets, it doesn't mean it's the end of the world.
In the third Test against Australia the following season, Kapil demonstrated not just his talent, but also his sheer courage, taking 5 for 28, while hampered by injury.
There's a neck and there's a huge appeal, and he's given him out, he's gone. Dyson caught behind off the bowling of Kapil Dev, and the Indians have broken through.
He had a major injury in his thigh, in his hamstring, but he went on to get 5 wickets and win the test match for India. Now that speaks volumes for Kapil Dev. I mean, that was his quality, and that is why he was the greatest, one of the greatest all-rounders the world has ever seen.
He played to win. He always believed in his ability. He always thought that till it was lost, it could be won. That was again a shift in thinking. Before that, a draw was always a victory. If you drew it first and then decided to win. But Kapil Dev brought that thinking into Indian cricket, where you could dare to win.
In 1982, when India travelled to England, the series was promoted as the battle between the world's two greatest all-rounders.
Comparing Kapil Dev and Ian Botham is a difficult task, even though they played in the same era, an era which included other all-rounders, great players like Imran Khan and Richard Hadley.
I think the summer of '82 was a summer of very good cricket here in England. It was almost as if there was a bit of one-upmanship going on, and Kapil was scoring runs and taking wickets, and Botham would reply. And that's the kind of competition I think that Test cricket or any form of cricket really thrives on, where you're playing for your country, but you're almost sending a message out with every innings that you're playing. Listen, you might be Ian Botham, but I can play as well. And then Botham, of course, comes out and shows why he's such a great cricketer himself. So it was a fantastic time to be watching and following cricket.
The first scores I would look at were if Pakistan were playing, what's Simi done? If India, what's Kep's done? And what's Paddle's done down in New Zealand? Those are the first, you always look at those. And I'm sure they did the same with me. Oh, I've got him there today, 5, he only got 3. And that's how it was. Or, he's got 100. Oh, right, I'm just going to pull the finger out today. And that's how it was. It's great.
Kapil enjoyed great success on the 1982 tour. He became Indian captain and within a year would lead his country to their greatest ever cricketing triumph.
So good. Beautifully caught. And the Indian skipper has done a tremendous job to get back there. Marvellous running catch.
The 1983 World Cup final, India were in a situation where they were defending a small total. And Kapil Dev had to instill in the side the confidence that they could still win, which he was able to do. It wasn't any ordinary batting side that he was up against. India through the mid-80s struggled a lot, and there was a lot of criticism of Kapil Dev's captaincy. But I think on the occasion of the World Cup final, when it really, really mattered, Kapil Dev's captaincy was terrific.
That's out. Yes, it's all over this time. As India race into the pavilion with the Prudential Cup theirs.
Well, I think Kapil Dev's greatest attribute was his calmness. Played against him perhaps 2-3 series. Never saw him lose his cool on the cricket field. Never saw him get harsh or hard on his teammate. I think that is what helped him to motivate his team and to lead his team. I think that was one of his strengths, or perhaps his greatest strength apart from his cricketing ability.
Very talented batsman. I remember he's got this famous 175 against Zimbabwe when their team was struggling in '83 World Cup, and that World Cup they went on winning that '83 World Cup. But I think again he led from the front in that particular World Cup. But again, he was also very natural talent. 5,000 test runs ask a lot, but I think in generally he again never took his batting as serious like he should. He should have got at least 7,000 test runs with his ability in batting, but very natural.
Kapil Dev, because of his positive attitude, really got those 175 runs.
Of course, the significance of that, had Kapil been dismissed for a low score that day, India probably would have lost, which means they would never have made the World Cup final. Which means that the whole romance of the 1983 World Cup for India would have been lost. It was just an extraordinary innings.
What else do you need from a captain? He gave a performance where he showed the rest of the team that this is what is required of us. And he was a great motivator, I would say. Whenever he spoke to his boys, he would give them a positive talk, positive vibes would get into the players. And that is what is required from a captain. His positivity was his plus point, but at times it became negative as well for him. If he had to choose, as I said, between a win and a draw, he would go for the win. So sometimes this backfired on Kapil. I mean, he would want to go for the win, and in the process lost the game.
By the end of 1984, Kapil had been replaced as Indian captain by Sunil Gavaskar. During the 1984-85 home series against England, Kapil was dropped from the Indian side for the first and only time in his career.
In trying to save a match in Bombay, he holed out a deep long off when he was under instructions to block. And so they dropped him for the second test. And he came back in Madras, and Chris Cowdery was bowling, and Chris got a wicket, and Kapil has walked into a huge reception. Everybody wondered now, how do you play your first ball after you've been dropped? Are you going to make a gesture? Are you going to say, let's have peace and I'll play properly? First ball from Cowdery was as near a wide as you can ever get without it being called, and he launched himself at it, and he smashed it through Norman Cowan's hands at wide mid-off and turned and waved his bat to the dressing room. So that was his that was his gesture as to what had happened. So he was a terrific character in his own country and an absolute legend.
By 1986, Kapil had again become captain for a tour of England, but in 20 attempts he'd still not led India to a test match victory. In the first test at Lord's, he spectacularly broke his captaincy duck. Bowling magnificently to take 4 for 52 in England's second innings, he then steered India to victory, slamming a 6 to win the match. A few weeks later came another historic event, this time against Australia, in the second ever tied test.
I think he batted brilliantly in that test match. He got 100 in the second innings, and what a tremendous performance in that test match. I mean, last day, 90 overs, India had to score 348 runs. Now, you played on a pitch for 4 days. There was wear and tear, and a target of 348 in 90 overs, that too against an Australian attack. It wasn't an easy target. I mean, and Kapil didn't only show us the way, show the Indians the way, but he motivated all of us by, he kept talking to all of us that this is a target we can achieve it. The wicket is still good, and if you think positive, we are going to get it. And we did get to 347. Unfortunately, it was a tie, but if you see it today, it's a part of history.
In early 1987, India narrowly lost a home test series to Pakistan, and Kapil's days as captain were over. Kapil played on for half a dozen more years under 4 different captains. He would continue to enjoy great moments.
An outstanding effort that comes to mind is Lord's. When you're looking to save the follow-on, 24 required, what does he do? He doesn't block. It's 4 sixes, and only once did he step out of the crease.
They needed 24 to save the follow-on, and 4 in a row. Kapil hit him onto the covers at the nursery end, just standing down there, the covers spread out. And I remember it because a good mate of mine who was doing the sponsoring of the covers.
For LBW, it's given him, and LBW straightening down the line, and 400 wickets for Kapil Dev, the second man in the history of the game of cricket.
In his later years, Kapil's bowling was more stock than strike. Season after season of shouldering the load had worn him down. On the 1991-92 tour of Australia, Kapil seemed a rejuvenated bowler.
He's a very happy man.
He didn't have the pace anymore, still had the skill level to swing the ball. But clearly, again, at the time, he was right up there with Imran Khan, Richard Hadley, and the top all-rounders in the world.
In 1993-94, against Sri Lanka, Kapil passed Sir Richard Hadley to become Test cricket's highest wicket-taker.
I think his enormous fitness. That someone played from 1978 all the way through to 1994 without missing a single test match due to injury. And in an era where people are being pulled out for various reasons and told not to play enough cricket, and we've got a little niggle and they sit out, to think that an athlete like him could play the number of test matches he did with the amount of workload he had without missing a single test match due to injury. And I think it was because he had a wonderful action. He thought a lot about his cricket. But to me, he's taken 434 wickets, he's scored 5,000 test runs. But the fact that a player can play that long without missing a single test due to injury tells me about his dedication and athleticism.
It had been a long, hard slog. Kapil's 300th wicket had come in 1987, but had taken 5 more years to reach 400, and a further 2 years to break Hadley's record.
Kapil Dev had exhausted himself, getting those 300 wickets. And because there was that perseverance of, reaching that landmark, that he kept going. If it was based on purely performance and what Kapil Dev was producing as a bowler, and if Kapil Dev was really asked whether he's quite the same bowler. I remember Richard Hadley, before he quit, about 2 years before that, he said that I'm not able to beat batsmen with pace of a short of length delivery, so my end is near. Kapil Dev, I think when he picked up his 300 wickets and most of the matches being played in India, he had just used himself up so much that there was nothing left. So after that, it was just relentless pursuit of that goal of 400 wickets.
Kapil played one more test match in New Zealand, taking 2 final wickets.
An edge, and it's taken. Chowan takes the catch, and Kapil Dev strikes immediately.
Yes, well, even though there's the gentle pace there, look at the movement.
Kapil Dev played in 131 test matches. He retired as the leading wicket-taker in test match cricket. He scored 5,248 test match runs at an average of 31.05.
One of the greatest all-rounders of all time. I remember that era, Imran Khan, Great Ian Botham, Richard Hadley and Kapil Dev. They used to compete against each other. I used to see their records, I used to see their wickets, their scores, and they were like big. They were giants of the game.
He played in 225 one-day internationals. He took 253 one-day wickets. For 6 years, he was the leading wicket-taker in one-day internationals.
He was a fighter to the core. He would accept challenges. The more the challenge, the better he would perform. I think that's a quality in any great player, and that is the quality Kapil Dev also, had. He would accept any kind of challenge. He would love to play under any kind of conditions. That was what Kapil Dev was made about. He was very positive in his attitude.
He'll be a legend always. People will always remember the magnificent feats that he achieved with bat and ball. So he's just one of those people that made an impact on the game as an all-rounder, particularly on the subcontinent, that won't be forgotten.
This was a simple guy who had all the vulnerabilities of the common man, but went out because he was a great athlete and he had cricket talent, and he just went out and tested himself against the best. So that that attitude and just what Kapil Dev was all about. When you finish the game and talk to the media, common man could relate to him because he spoke like them. So that actually spurred on a lot of people. He was very, very popular with the common men. And even now, Kapil Dev is still the hero with the masses of India.
He was the most naturally gifted player. And, you could see that when he ran into bowl or he played those pull shots, that this is a guy who was born to play cricket.
He was India's first and only genuine fast bowling all-rounder. He was a national hero. He captained India to a famous World Cup victory. He thrilled crowds time and time again. His versatility, his will to win, and his record-breaking achievements with both bat and ball have secured him a place amongst ESPN's legends of cricket. He is arguably the finest left-arm fast bowler of all time. He's a record-breaking batsman and was captain of his country. Arrogant, brilliant, and often controversial, Wasim Akram is one of ESPN's legends of cricket.